Hi, my name is Michelle Smith, and I'm going to be presenting my Module 12 case study, The Budget Debacle. All right, first let's summarize the case. Briardale Elementary School is a well-run school, and since it's at the center of town, it also serves as the town's community meeting center for lots of different activities. Briardale is one of 6 elementary schools in the town. There are also 2 middle schools and 1 high school. That the high school has like a really great athletic sports program and everything. There's low teacher turnover throughout the district, and there are 2 different ways of getting curriculum in this district. So the first district curriculum is for basic skills, and that's like through the core subjects, math, English, science, social studies, those kinds of things. That those funds are set by the superintendent for all the schools. But there's also a supplementary curriculum, which is subjects that are funded through fundraiser and competition. So the foundations formed at each school are chaired by a parent who's also the foundation president. And so they're kind of a parental appointed person. And the funds are raised through the foundation. Then they're handed over to the building principal. And then the building principal gets to order the curriculum through that. There is a new parent. His name is Mr. Barley or Mr. Barley. He was chosen as president. He's a Harvard grad, and he's super motivated to go beyond any kind of limit or any kind of fundraising that has ever been set before. He met with Principal Santos to establish roles and expectations, and he decided to sell raffle tickets for a cash jackpot. So he was going to do the raffle for cash jackpot at the end. He proposed the idea to everybody, including the principal, and everybody was in support. Well, there was a tricky trickster at hand, and somebody tipped off the town's sheriff or the county sheriff, and the sheriff showed up right when he's about to pull that last ticket, or the first ticket, sorry, and he basically arrested Mr. Barely. And it was really, really embarrassing for Mr. Santos and the district. And yeah, so that's basically the case in a nutshell. So section 2, report of legal and ethical issues. So let's talk about the legal issues first. Raffle for cash, although possibly a great idea, is actually gambling, and that is illegal in, it's with schools. So what measures should be taken to ensure that parents comply with the law when conducting fundraisers? This is a really great time to talk about that. They should have a list of things that they can and cannot do. And I think that would definitely take care of some of the issues. And so we make sure that we're within the law. Here's a list of approved fundraisers you can do. And then they don't really even have to worry about legality because they are doing what the board and the law has already approved. All right, so ethical issues. Mr. Barley, I'm going to call him Barley. Mr. Barley ran the idea by the group and the principal, and no one caught that it was gambling, so nobody said anything. Mr. Barley's main motivation for the fundraiser was to beat his former frat brother, who was also one of the parent organizers, and so that was his motivation for doing the best. I don't think that is the right motivation for hosting a raffle for raising money. I think the motivation should be for the kids. And so that was maybe a breach of ethics in that situation. You know, our hearts should be for the kids first and foremost, and not to, be competitive. I love competition, but, maybe leave that kind of lower down. And this leads to the question, should committees be chaired by parents or should they be chaired by school employees? And if you want to make sure that you are running a tight ship and that you have the most control, then probably by school employees, although I get the appeal for, parents. And you would definitely want to have, parents involved. We want, parents involved in the school. And so that it was a good idea to take something off teachers' plates and get parents involved. So section 3, the single sentence. All right, to synthesize what is happening in a single sentence, here we go. Mr. Barely, who was the chairperson for the committee, decided to conduct an epic raffle for cash fundraiser at Briardale Elementary School. After getting the idea approved, but was later arrested and booked after someone tipped off the police that they were illegally gambling. All right, so a synthesis of facts. Who are the people involved? The entire community is affected since this school was the meeting place for many community members. It's a dark mark on the school and the district. And so, everybody was involved. Some people specifically, though, Mr. Santos, the principal, Mr. Barley, the guy that was organizing it and had the idea and was going forward with it, the teachers at the school, students, the parents, the school district, Mr. Barley's family. I can't imagine, the embarrassment of his student going to school there, and them, all the kids saying, I heard your dad got arrested, and stuff like that. So the entire family would have been involved or would have been affected as well. The place that was affected, places, is Briardale Elementary School, obviously. They were definitely had a lot to do with it. And then the entire town and community, because like I said, the Briardale Elementary School was the meeting place for the town, community center. The programs that were affected would be the supplementary curriculum programs such as art, music, and foreign language. Those are things that they had previously used those supplementary curriculum funds for, but also further innovative programs, which is what Mr. Barley was talking about, really using some of that money for, were also affected. So anything that they were going to go beyond with, has a low likelihood of doing that. All right, so review and prioritize the information. Could the conflict, the situation, or the decision be damaging to stakeholders or to the community? I said yes. The conflict, situation, and the decision could be damaging. Since the community, teachers, families, and stakeholders all utilize the building, they don't want such a negative impact on their building and the association with it. If somebody was going to maybe even host a church gathering or something. I know some of the schools around here have churches. It might not be something that they want to do anymore. And so they would possibly even lose funds from people not wanting to use the buildings anymore. What individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Many groups have an important stake in the outcome, namely students and families, staff, and the community. Have all of the relevant stakeholders been consulted? And that was hard to say because I don't know, 100% of the facts, only what was presented. So it's unclear as to whether all stakeholders have been notified. I assume they have, but it's not stated whether the superintendent even knows or not. I assume he has. It's in the paper. So if anybody wants to learn more about the situation, of course you can just read the newspaper article. Go to the latest coffee shop in town. Sounds like it's a tight-knit community. So I'm sure people are talking. I'm sure there's all kinds of false information about it. And so you can learn more about the situation. You just have to be careful who you asked. And do I know enough to make a decision? It seems as though there is no denying that a law was broken, but what was the motivation? That's always what I ask myself when it comes to students too. What was the motivation for the misbehavior? What does the district policy say about this type of situation? Yeah, you'd have to look back and see what that kind of stuff says. I don't feel like there is enough information to make a decision right now, but that doesn't mean that a decision doesn't need to be made, or an action moving forward. So options and possible consequences. So even with a lack of information, like I said, I'd like to know more. You still have to be able to come up with some options and possible consequences. So the first decision was, do I take action or no? First option could be not going to take immediate action until I meet with necessary stakeholders and have thoroughly spoken with the law enforcement, as well as reviewed district policy. So no action at first. And so that's one option. The second option is like the complete opposite of the no action. This is all of the action. Okay. What is the most comprehensive and liberal decision I can make? I'm going to completely clean the house. This is my second option. I could disband all the foundation and rely on district funds for all curriculum needs. And if we don't have enough, then we don't get it. Parents are no longer allowed to be in charge of fundraising activities. This could result in a loss of community connection, loss of funding, loss of trust, lots of fallout from this one possibly. What about an intermediate decision, somewhere in the middle? What are some possible other options? I could change or create a policy that clearly outlines legality issues so that when somebody, new comes in, a new parent, they can see what a list of possible options are. I could make funding equitable across all schools. So depending on school zone, some parents may be more affluent than others, resulting in more funding. So if we're doing a parent fundraiser, and this is a school where parents make, considerably more money than this other school over there, well, that's not really fair for curriculum needs. So it doesn't seem very equitable to me. The Board of Education has to approve all fundraisers moving forward. So that's the local Board of Education for that school district. And then a list of possible approved fundraisers, sorry. The result is it's not as competitive, but it's a bit more equitable and fair and a little more controlled. All right, so evaluation of my option. The first option, pros. I'm not jumping to conclusions and possibly not understanding all of the information. There's no assumptions being made, and so the tensions are running high. And so not, reacting right away when tensions are running high, usually that's kind of a good idea. However, the cons, the community might view it in a negative way, possibly something like it might occur again if that doesn't happen. And you might lose trust, or, if somebody gets arrested and the school district or the principal does nothing, that might look pretty bad. What about the second decision, the super liberal decision? Pros, it's quick insurance that it will not happen again because swift justice is coming. But there's a complete control over all funding. Like there's one ruler and they rule it all. But the cons are it's pretty harsh. There's a big disconnect that occurs between the district and the community. There's no extra money for the supplementary curriculum. It's kind of a you get what you get and you don't throw a fit type situation. But the intermediate decision, you're going to see more pros in this one. There's time to reflect and evaluate, yet still act if needed. Policy change and more structure are given, not a loss of relationship with the community. And it just kind of is a little more level-headed overall. Cons, it will take time and resources to do this. So it's not an immediate action, but there is an immediate plan going forward. And there's going to need to be an immediate communication about that. So, all right, so section 8, choose the best option. Final reflection on what is best has led me to utilizing a combination of options. I plan to create a new district policy with a list of approved fundraisers, so then parents have something to choose from. The new fundraisers are approved through the local school board. Parent involvement is crucial. So still parents being involved, but make the fundraising a little more equitable. So maybe we raise funds, but it all goes like to the same pot and it gets distributed evenly amongst the schools, and maybe make an extra incentive on the side just to encourage a little bit more. But yeah. All right, so creative options, without getting too wild, yes, creative options were made. How to implement the plan with the greatest thought and care to all stakeholders. I will communicate openly about all decisions moving forward. I think this needs to be the case for every single thing that ever gets decided in a school district. There needs to be communication always if it affects other people. I will seek feedback through surveys. I'll discuss it at site council meetings if the school has them. I'll get ideas moving forward. Have all stakeholders been consulted? Yes, there's been open communication with everyone involved. There's been surveys sent out. There's been emails. There's phone calls, Facebook posts, all kinds of things. I'll remain an open contact in case ideas come up as we move forward, and through surveys, meetings, and other correspondence, they will have been consulted. All right, so imagine the implementation. I'll choose my path. I'll evaluate my current policy, change it if necessary. I'll survey, communicate with stakeholders, create a list of approved fundraisers, parents on committee, but no longer in charge of it. So I think the principal should head up and be in charge of the committee, but parents should definitely still be active members. What may happen? There might be immediate fallout over the debacle, and that just, is part of it. And that's, unfortunate, but that's kind of what happens sometimes. Parents will still like to be on board and involved in fundraising for their children's education. It helps give them ownership of it. Curriculum is still being provided at no cost to the district besides the new policy making. Possibly uneven funding distribution, so that could possibly be a result. And it might be something to look at later. So maybe not like immediately, but maybe later on. Who needs to know? All stakeholders need to be made aware, in particular the school board, staff, parents, community. Can I proceed alone? I will need immediate support from the Board of Education, the superintendent, as well as the committee and stakeholders. And I need to warn, not threaten. When the new committee is formed and policy is moving forward, ensure that others know that there is a possibility of consequences and strategies for avoiding them. Keep an open communication with partnerships. So, like telling people, heads up, if we don't do this, these are some possible consequences, but don't say you will do this or else. Like that's a threat. We want to warn them. Like we need to make sure we stick to the plan, you guys. We really want to make sure we stay out of trouble liability wise. Don't want this to happen again. Those kinds of things. What will I do if my chosen plan of action doesn't work? I'll cry. I'm just joking. I won't cry. What will I do? I will probably suggest that we do away with a fundraised budget and just have the school plan for any extra curriculum. I think that would be the easiest, just most immediate. It's kind of drastic, but if this doesn't work, I think we need to just like scale way back and then kind of just try to start again. So, all right. Let me just go through a few of these other questions and just make sure that there wasn't anything that I left out. Who should audit the funds raised by foundations and similar organizations that raise funds for schools to make certain that the funds are accounted for and allocated appropriately? I think somebody that should do that would be the district bookkeepers, possibly the secretaries. In my school, those are the same people. And so maybe somebody like that. I think we should develop and monitor a collaborative budget process just to make sure, again, that there's equity going on. We should be acting as responsible, ethical, and accountable stewards of our school's resources. When we are not utilizing our school building correctly, that is going to be a black mark against us. Some strategies that a school leader could use when faced with budget cuts, we need to be able to get creative because the students still deserve the resources that they need. But so I think, serving the district, serving the stakeholders, and just seeing, what ideas other people have, because I feel like there's a lot of good ideas out there. We just are underutilizing. Sorry, the sun's getting in my eye. And so what is an example of competing interests in terms of budget development? So if like the art fund wants this much money for new paintbrushes, but the band fund wants this much money for a new tuba, those might be competing interests for budget development. And so we need to make sure that we have budgets set up for every single thing. So anyway, I think that is my solution to the budget debacle, and I hope you have a great evening.